Hi friends. Online friends, please confirm that you can see me and hear me all right by typing yes. Chali, thank you. So please close your eyes for a moment. Quick recap. Brother, at the back, last row. Yes. What did we study in the last lecture? Talcott Parsons. Explain to me what is a social system? Multiple individuals are there. Multiple subsystems are there, you saying? Okay. I need more than that, brother. Yes. Sorry? Revise nahi kiya. Brother? Which is correct, but I need more than this, brother. According to Parsons, a social system comprises of a plurality of individuals interacting in a social situation. Bilkul. Driven by the social actors are driven by the motivation to maximize their gratification. Wonderful. ठीक है, और कुछ aspect रह गए? You've covered most of it. Anything he's left out? The roles are institutionalized. Good. ठीक है. Then, what is the name of the book by Parsons on this? The social system. Couldn't have been simpler. ठीक है. What do you understand, brother, by dynamic equilibrium? Yes? What do you mean by equilibrium here? ठीक है. Or, but, due to environment it is? Then why is it called a dynamic equilibrium? If it keeps changing, and then this keeps on repeating, or keeps on happening. ठीक है. So it's a moving or dynamic equilibrium. Great. Beti, tell me what do you understand by functional prerequisites? Absolutely, certain needs of the social system have to be met for it to continue to operate or remain. Absolutely. What are the various functional prerequisites? Brother? अच्छा रिवाइज नहीं किया. बेटी next to him, yes. What are the functional prerequisites? That's correct. Now tell me one of the functional prerequisites. Adaptation. Great. That's it. Thank you. What is adaptation? Society has to acquire resources from the environment. Wonderful. And who does adaptation? Beti? Yes. Which subsystem does it? Which subsystem performs performs this function of adaptation? The economic subsystem. Wonderful. Now, Beti? Yes. Tell me. Yes. Another functional prerequisite? Okay, fine. Thank you. But I was asking her, what is goal attainment? Determination. ठीक है, to identify the collective goals, prioritize them, and mobilize people to achieve them. And tell me, Bitya, staying with you, which subsystem performs this role? The political subsystem. ठीक है. Then what is the next function, brother? Which means what? Okay. And who performs it? Legal and judicial subsystems. ठीक है. The explanation could have been better, should have been better. What is the next function? Latency. What is it? गले की खिचखिच की बात नहीं है. Don't divert our attention. What is latency? Pattern maintenance and tension management. What is pattern maintenance? Absolutely, passing on the pattern of values prevalent to the next generation, right? And what is tension management? Wonderful. ठीक है. Who performs pattern maintenance? And tension management or latency function?
By the family,
Family, religion, etc. Wonderful. Then, is that all we covered? Criticisms, throw petty criticisms, some petty criticisms. अच्छा, cybernetic hierarchy, ठीक है. But share some criticisms of Parsons theory. I was absent. Then don't chit chat. All the more reason you should be listening to your friends here. Huh, Bitya? Since he was chatting with you. So. हाँ, कि universal application is kind of questioned. What else? नहीं ठीक कह रहे हो आप, बोलो. ग्लोरीफाई कर रहा है, अमेरिकन सोसाइटी को डिफेंड कर रहा है, ग्लोरीफाई कर रहा है. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. और कोई क्रिटिसिज्म? ब्रदर? नो, नॉट यू. यस यू. हाँ. सॉरी. डज नॉट अकाउंट फॉर रेवोल्यूशनरी काइंड ऑफ चेंजेस. ठीक है. नाउ यू टेल मी. यू वर लाइक स्माइलिंग स्लाइली. यस. व्हाट इज साइबरनेटिक हायरार्की? नहीं, सोशल एक्शन नहीं. 4 एक्शन सिस्टम्स, नेमली organismic, personality, social and cultural systems. Very good. I've seen students write orgasmic. Don't do that. ठीक है? It's a very weird kind of a spelling mistake. to make. So what is this cybernetic hierarchy, beta? Between these four systems, what is happening?
Control and needs pass in different directions. So control passes from top to bottom, which is
On the top is what? Cultural.
organismic, and needs go in a reverse pattern from organismic to control.
Wonderful. Yes. Via?
Social and personal.
In which order? देख के बोला तो क्या बोला? ठीक है, but good. ठीक है. So that's what we had done. अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. Moving on to the other. 1 second. We have some comments. Do we have to study the types of structure of social system of Parsons? No. Please explain cybernetic hierarchy. Cybernetic hierarchy refers to the relationship between the four action systems in Parsons' theory, namely the organismic system, personality system, social system, and the cultural system. With organismic system at the bottom and cultural system at the top, needs arise and are passed on from a lower level system to a higher level system. Controls or direction or guidelines on how those needs are to be fulfilled pass down from the cultural system to the social to the personality to the organismic system. And this exchange of needs and commands or directions to satisfy them between the four systems is referred to as the cybernetic hierarchy of control. Are those three factors only that result in the transformation from pre-modern to modern society? Yes. And from that transformation, does the complex form of division of labor emerge? Yes. What is an action system is not our concern because it's beyond our purview. Okay? Chaliye. Moving on. We have a fair bit on our agenda today. 2 pattern variables. Pattern variables. It is more a part of his theory of social action. Pattern variables is more a part of his theory of social action. And the two theories are somewhat linked. They are not in complete isolation. Okay? Now, what are pattern variables? Before we get to that, first thing we need to appreciate about Parsons' writings. There is very little to appreciate in his writings. So one thing which we can do is that he was instrumental in trying to marry the macro approach of functional sociology and the micro orientation of Weber or the Weberian emphasis on social action. In general, till like what we've studied till now, the functionalism is a macro perspective and it ignores the individual. Are you with me? And micro level phenomena like social action. Parsons adequately emphasizes on social action. Parsons was he's broadly functionalist. He's a hardcore. He's as functionalist as they come. Okay? So he's very functionalist in his orientation, but then also he has still tried to incorporate an understanding of social action in his theory. Okay? In fact, he is the guy who translated Weber's writings into English. Weber was writing in German. He was a German fellow. And he introduced literally Weber's works to the English speaking world. US, England वगैरह जहाँ पे भी English चलती है, Weber की writings Parsons के translation की वजह से पहुंची. He went to Weber की लुगाई and sought permission from her to translate his works into English after his death. Okay? And that is how the English speaking world got to know of Weber's writings. So there's a very clear imprint, and see, we have not yet studied Weber actually. We will. So there you will know, how much he emphasizes on social action. But some of that emphasis is also clearly visible in the writings of Parsons. ठीक है? Now, coming to pattern variables. What are pattern variables? He says when a social actor is performing a social action, I'll dictate also what are pattern variables. But when a social actor is performing a social action, okay, then before he can perform that action, he has to resolve certain dilemmas. He encounters several dilemmas. Dilemmas matlab dharam sankat. Okay? He needs to pick up, or he needs to choose between certain sets of, polar opposites. Only when he has clarity on those aspects can he properly act in any action situation. सब ऊपर से निकल गया? For example, I'm a social actor. We all are social actors. For each of us, the others are what we call counter actors. So for me, I'm the social actor. You guys are counter actors. For her, she is the social actor, and the rest of the students and the teacher are counter actors. ठीक है? When any social actor has to act in an action situation. So this is an action situation. This classroom situation is an action situation. What is the action that has to be performed? Teaching. So I'm a social actor, I'm a teacher who has to act, perform an action, which is teaching in this action situation or classroom situation. Before I do that, I will have to resolve some dilemmas, some dharma sankats. What are those dilemmas? I'll give you example of one. So one of the dilemmas that the actor faces is called ascription versus achievement. What is this dilemma? Basically pertaining to how do I, the actor, identify the counter actors. Should I do so on the basis of ascriptive criteria or on the basis of achievement criteria? Simply, now I have to teach. Who? My counter actors, the students, as a teacher. Before I can teach, I'll have to make up my mind, how do I connect with the students? Is it based on ascriptive criteria? So, maybe, should I ask, okay, who all amongst you are Brahmins? Theek? And then say, okay, Brahmins are born for the imparting and transmission and reception of knowledge. So these are the students I'll be paying my attention to. Or should it be based on achievement criteria? So depending on your performance in the class, in the tests, should I be doing that? Are you with me? Likewise, Parsons talks of total 5 sets of dilemmas which the social actor has to resolve in an action situation before he can act. Is it clear? Thank you. Is it understood or not? No? Be sure, otherwise I'll repeat, which is boring. What is? A script. Achha, have we not used these words earlier anywhere? Have we or have we not? Okay, but some of you are suggesting we have. Ascriptive criteria basically refers to those which one cannot change, which are a given for a person, which you are literally born with and can do nothing about. That's an ascriptive status or an ascriptive identity. For example, my caste is an ascriptive status or ascriptive identity. I can't change it. I was born with it and I die with it. Okay? class in modern industrial society, say in the West, is regarded as ascriptive or achievement? Achievement. It is achieved status. It is an achieved status. In other words, you may be born poor or middle class, but you can become rich. Right? Gender is what? Ascribed status. Another. Okay, so you are born a man or a woman. अब तो चेंज भी हो जाता है, ठीक है. Your educational attainment in the modern industrial Western society is ascriptive or achieved? Achieved. ठीक है. Your racial identity? Ascribed or achieved? Ascribed. अब तो वो भी अचीव हो जाता है ना. Like Michael Jackson. Ironic, the guy who sang "It doesn't matter whether you are black or white." Born black, died white. You know? But in general, otherwise it's an ascriptive identity. ठीक है? So that is clear. So ascription versus achievement dilemma is what? That how do I identify the counteractors? Based on ascriptive criteria, which are a given, or based on achievement criteria. Okay? Likewise, there are 4 other dilemmas which he talks of. These 5 sets of dilemmas are called pattern variables. ठीक है? लिखो. Pattern variables. According to Sri Parsons, in every action situation, the actor is confronted by a series of dilemmas. Known as pattern variables. Full stop. Use short form PV, it will be quicker. Pattern variables thus refer to the dilemmas that the social actor must resolve before he can act in an action situation. Full stop. The actor must choose from these sets of dichotomous choices from these sets of SETS, sets of dichotomous choices, in order to perform his role. In order to perform his role. So I have to perform my role as a teacher. Before that, I'll have to choose whether I act or, whether I have to, or what is the situation. I have to clarify in my mind whether it is this or that. Who are you guys? Based on your ascriptive identities or achievement criteria. One of the dilemmas. Okay? Continue writing. Pattern variables define the nature of the social interaction and the role expectations. I repeat, pattern variables define the nature of the social interaction and role expectations in a social system. Full stop. They provide an overall direction in which most members of a society may choose to play their roles. ठीक है? So there are 5 dichotomous choices, you understand? Dichotomous means a pair of polar opposites. Like day and night are a dichotomous pair. Positive and negative. You know, you have to be, you can be either. Right? And these are like two extreme or two different things. Male, female. Conventionally was a dichotomous pair. ठीक है? So there are 5 pattern variables as follows, or 5 dilemmas which need to be resolved as follows. First is ascription versus achievement. Ascription versus achievement. Dash. This dilemma pertains to how the actor this dilemma pertains to how the actor identifies the counter actors. Dash, whether based on ascriptive criteria or based on achievement. ठीक? Clear? So how do I identify you? And you also, how do you identify me? Right? Or identify the guy sitting next to you. ठीक है? The second dilemma would be diffuse versus specific. Diffuse versus specific. Tell me, friends, first, resolve the first dilemma for me. How do I identify the counteractors in this teaching situation? Achievement, not on ascriptive criteria. ठीक है, as you say. Moving on to the next dilemma, diffuse versus specific. This dilemma is what I'll make you write. But first, understand, it's very simple. Diffuse versus specific means this dilemma is regarding what is the extent to which the actor has to satisfy the needs of the counter actor. Or in other words, this is the extent to which, what is the range of my obligations towards you. डिफ्यूज वर्ड का इंग्लिश में मीनिंग क्या होता है? स्प्रेड आउट, फैला हुआ, है ना? Specific means narrow. So what is my range of obligations towards you? So as a teacher, that is really a dilemma. A lot of teachers face. Is my obligation towards you specific or confined to, limited to teaching you sociology optional syllabus for the civil service exam? Or is it broader than that? Say, am I in the, is my obligation towards you is to guide your overall UPSC preparation? Or is it wider still? Do I have to be your career counselor in life, maybe, beyond the UPSC? Or wider even still, am I in the nature of a friend, philosopher and guide to you? Okay? Are my obligations towards you narrow, specific, well-defined, or are they broad, diffuse, spread out? Okay? That is another dilemma that the actor has to resolve vis-a-vis the counter actors. ठीक? Resolve it for me. Specific, then specific it is. ठीक? ठीक है? चलो. अच्छा लिखा नहीं है ना, तो लिखो. Diffuse versus specific. This dilemma pertains to the range of obligations of the actor towards the counter actors. Full stop. The actor needs to decide the scope of the relationship and which needs of the counter actor he has to satisfy. ठीक है? Clear? The third dilemma is, I hope it's visible. Is it? Particularism versus universalism. Particularism versus universalism. This means what? Now this dilemma is regarding how you have to treat the counter actor. How should the actor treat the counter actor? Should he treat them based on the particular relationship that they enjoy? Or based on some universal principles, universal yardsticks? झूठी गर्दन हिला रहे हो, आपको नहीं समझ आया है? Let's take an example. So say there is amongst my students a girl or two girls who are very close, they are daughters of a very close family friend. So should I treat them any differently from the other students because of this particular relationship that I share with them? That would be particularism. Or should I treat them at par with the other students? Are you with me? Should I shower special attention, greater marks on those with whom I enjoy a particular kind of a close relationship? Or should it be based on a universal yardstick? They should be treated the same way as the other students. This is a lot of times, some of you may have teachers, parents who are teachers and you're studying in the same schools. It happens. And the teacher faces this dilemma. How do you, and other teachers face this dilemma. Yeah, that, he's a colleague's son or daughter. So do I treat them specially or should I treat them the same as others? ठीक है? So this is what? Particularism versus universalism. And it need not be just a friend's daughter or this or that. It could be, say, even in otherwise in any classroom situation, oftentimes in schools, you would see that some students become teachers' favorites. Right? So should the teacher shower on them greater, whatever, affection, greater attention than the others? Are you with me? As a bureaucrat, you will face this dilemma. Say if your close kin, your brother, cousin, mama, chacha, relative, is one of the applicants for a public proposal. Are you with me? Say a public tender is out, and he's one of the applicants. Should you treat them in a special manner or at par with others, using the same treatment, same criteria and everything? Okay? Particularism, yeah, universalism. Clear? तो लिखो particularism versus universalism. This dilemma refers to whether the social actor should act on the basis of the particular relationship with different counteractors, or based on universal criteria या universal principles. Online students, please confirm you can see me and hear me all right. One sec, brother. Yes, thank you. So, Yera, you are facing some issue, but that's peculiar to you because other students can see me and hear me all right. So, maybe it's at your end. You'll have to check that or get in touch with tech support if they can help you out. Where were we? Universalism versus or particularism versus universalism. Okay? Next dilemma. कहाँ लिखूं? Affectivity versus affective neutrality. Affectivity versus affective neutrality. Affective means what? The root word is affection. Affection. Pyar. So affectivity basically means whether, so the actor has to decide whether it is an emotional equation that he shares with the counter actors or it is an emotionally neutral one or devoid of any emotion. ठीक है? Say as a teacher, I would face that dilemma. How should my relationship with the students be? An emotional one or an unemotional one? Should I dance with joy, sharing in your happiness when you get selected? And cry alongside you when you don't? Or should I be, menu ki in either case? हुआ तो हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ, मुझे क्या? हाँ, What is the nature of this relationship? That I need to establish. Yes or no? So बताओ जरा. Affective? ठीक है. तो थोड़ा हंस लेंगे, थोड़ा रो लेंगे साथ में. ठीक है? But that is something we need to establish in every action situation. Right? How is the, say, a mother-child relationship? Affective या affectively neutral? Affective. That's how we typically see it. But if it's so clear-cut, तो dilemma किस बात का? What's the dilemma about? But it is a dilemma. Even a mother faces that dilemma vis-a-vis the child. So for example, the mother needs to discipline the child. Oftentimes, you need to be strict with the child. You need to put your foot down for a lot of things that the child may insist upon. Yes or no? Which might require the opposite orientation, affective neutrality. तो वो रोएगा, बिलकेगा, सुबकेगा, है ना, खाया पिया उसका निकल जाएगा, परंतु you have to बर्दाश्त करो it. You don't have to give in. You need to be emotionally cold and detached for the sake of the child. What about the relationship between a doctor and a patient? How should that be? Affective or affectively neutral? Neutral or affective? सर्जन को न्यूट्रल होना पड़ेगा और बाकी हैं फैमिली डॉक्टर को अफेक्टिव होना चाहिए. You know, there's this wonderful scene in this Munna Bhai MBBS, if you've seen that, where Dr. Asthana, he's like the head faculty in that hospital, he asks the medical students, ki, why do you want to become a doctor? So one innocent girl raises her hand and she says, you know, I love people and all that, I want to save lives and I can't see them cry and all. And he blasts her. He says, you have to treat them like an object, in a very cold and distant kind of a manner. You do not have to get emotionally engaged with your patients as a doctor. That is very necessary. He says, if it were my own daughter on the table, operating table, then my hands will start shaking. क्यों? वहां पे emotion involve हो जाता है ना? लिख लिया? तो लिखो. This dilemma pertains to whether the relationship between the actor and the counter actors is emotional or devoid of any emotion. ठीक? This dilemma is also referred to as कहाँ लिखूं? Immediate gratification versus deferred gratification. Immediate gratification versus deferred gratification. Written in the top right corner. What do you understand by the word gratification? A sense of satisfaction. है ना? So, an emotional relationship gives you immediate satisfaction. Okay? An unemotional one means that you defer the gratification, or you're doing something today for tomorrow. for the sake of tomorrow, like a mother disciplining her child, by being emotionally detached for his better tomorrow. Are you with me? So that is deferred gratification. Okay? कितने हो गए? 4. Fifth. The fifth dilemma is collectivity versus self. Collectivity versus self. ठीक? Now what is this dilemma regarding? This dilemma is regarding whose interest has to be given importance, greater priority. Whose interest has to be kept first? That of the collectivity or of one's own self. ठीक? For example, say we teachers also face this dilemma. Whose interest should I prioritize? Self-interest of my own or of the collectivity? Collectivity could be, say, should I think of the student community, that the students should benefit. And accordingly I'll have to mold this classroom interaction or carry on this classroom interaction. Should I have to secure my interest first and foremost, or should I prioritize the interest of the student community, or say a greater collectivity like the nation, since some of the students here will become the bureaucrats of tomorrow? Should I be concerned about inculcating in them the right kind of values, or at least the right kind of exposure to certain ideas? So resolve it for me. Whose interest should I put first? Collective or self? Collective. When you say collective, whose interest are you putting first? है ना? Your own self. ठीक है? तो ये है. ठीक है? तो लिखो. This dilemma pertains to the question as to whose interest and well-being has to be given greater importance. Dash. That of the social group. Or one's own. ठीक है? Clear? So these are the 5 dilemmas that the social actor has to resolve before he acts in any action situation. ठीक है? If you look at it like this way, okay, on one of these sides, say these are pattern variables A on the left side of the table and pattern variables B on the right side of the table. Okay? One of the sides represent an orientation more prevalent in traditional society, and another side represents the orientation more prevalent in modern society. Which side represents which? Which side represents the orientation more prevalent in modern society? Pattern variables? A or B? B. Clearly. Right? So, as more and more people in more and more, or so, as more and more social actors in more and more social situations opt for B type orientation instead of A, it indicates the process of modernization or a social change. ठीक है? So this is how the pattern variables concept can also be linked to the understanding of social change. Are you with me? But clearly it is not that all people in all situations will take up of type B. Otherwise, what's the dilemma if it was so clear cut? Okay? Clear? So this is how it also explains somewhat social change. So this is his theory of pattern variables. A quick criticism, then we move on in life. One criticism is there may be possible that there are other dilemmas that people encounter. He's listed only 5. So it's not a comprehensive list of dilemmas that he has given out. The list of dilemmas is not comprehensive. Possibly people may encounter other dilemmas. Secondly, friends, Parsons presents them as dichotomous, polar opposites, out of which the actor has to pick one. Yes or no? So critics suggest that why should it always necessarily be an either or kind of a situation? In fact, in many social situations, the actors may choose or opt for somewhere middle kind of an approach. Yes or no? So why should the teacher-student relationship be either full of love and all or completely unemotional? Thoda pyar, thodi mohabbat. Yes or no? And that is how typically we live our lives in various action situations. He does not provision for thoda. Yeah? Thirdly, may I? May I? Thirdly, Parsons suggests that these, choices are kind of incompatible. It has to be one at the cost of the other. Are you with me? But do they necessarily, are they incompatible? For example, self-interest and collective interest, are they necessarily incompatible? No. As Adam Smith had told us long back. Yes or no? Even in the pursuit of self-interest, the collective interest also gets served. Sorry? हाँ बिल्कुल है ना. Say in our example, if I prioritize your interest, does my interest also not get served in the process? It does. If I think of the students, कायनात automatically thinks of me. है ना? Fourthly, Parsons presents this theory as if it is universal. Claims this framework is universal. Critics point out that it is born out of the American experience. So these dilemmas people may be facing in American society. But in other cultures, other sets of dilemmas may prevail. ठीक? ठीक है? With that, we take a short break. We are done with Parsons. We take a short break and then we continue. Please settle down. Moving on to the next thinker in our syllabus, R.K. Merton. Robert King Merton. A brief biographical sketch. This is the time period of the gentleman. Okay? Now, he has a very interesting life actually. He is an American sociologist. Okay? But in terms of his family background, he was Russian. He was born to Russian immigrants to the US. His father, his parents had immigrated from Russia to the US. While Americans are mostly Christian, Merton was Jewish. He came from a very, very humble background. His father was a tailor and he did various odd jobs. At one time, he was an assistant to a carpenter. Another time, he was a doodhwala. And whatever he tried his hands at, he could not succeed in that endeavor. This guy's name was not Robert King Merton to begin with. इनका नाम भी अलग था. इनका नाम कुछ था Robert Schlocknick or something like that, difficult to pronounce, Russian kind of a name. He changed his name because he was mighty influenced by his sister's boyfriend. So his sister's boyfriend was a magician. So inspired from him, the young Robert Schlock, whatever, he took to magic. He also became a magician, and as his stage name, to Americanize his identity, he became Robert King Merton. Okay? Came from very humble origins, but over time he reached the pinnacle of academic success, a career in academia. So he, despite his humble background, he got an opportunity to study at one of the best places in the Western world. He was a student of Talcott Parsons at Harvard University. After this, he spent much of his career in academia, in teaching, at another premier academy, which was the Columbia University. Okay? Both are like very top notch. जहाँ पे ये पढ़े और जहाँ पे इन्होंने पढ़ाया. He went on to, be awarded the, US has this thing called a National Medal for Science, something of that sort. I don't know the exact name, National Medal for Science or of Science or something. Merton became the first social scientist to be conferred with that honor. Otherwise, it was typically till then given to physicists, chemists, etc. He became the first social scientist to be awarded the National Medal for Science or whatever they call it. Are you with me? His son, Robert C. Merton, went on to win the Nobel Prize. Okay, so point is, he came from very, very humble origins and then reached the peak of an academic career, because of which, how would you expect his orientation to be towards the society? Kind of grudging, etc., or celebratory? And what do we call that in sociology? So Merton was a functionalist in his orientation. ठीक. Now coming to the UPSC syllabus topics listed under R.K. Merton. There are 3 topics: manifest and latent functions, reference group, conformity. Is it visible? Conformity and deviance. Another topic which is not mentioned but is implicit. In the previous years questions have been asked, can be asked. So we'll be covering is his criticism, Merton's criticism of classical functionalism. Merton's criticism of classical functionalism. ठीक. So these are the 4 topics we'll be doing. The first of which is not explicitly mentioned, but we have to do. May I clean the slate? क्या बोलेंगे इसको? Board, screen. May I clean it? Starting with the first topic, his criticism of classical functionalism. What do you understand by classical functionalism? Classical functionalism is as is represented, particularly what Merton was targeting is as was represented in the writings of scholars like Malinowski, social anthropologists like Malinowski and A.R. Radcliffe Brown. So Merton criticized some aspects of classical functionalism as reflected in the writings of Malinowski and A.R. Radcliffe Brown. ठीक? Now what did these guys say? Do we have to know that? The answer is no. They are not in our syllabus, so we will not do them. For our purposes, look at it this way: whatever functionalism we've discussed till now, reflected in the writings of a Parsons or a Durkheim, okay, that we can take to represent classical functionalism. But in the exam you'll write, he criticized the classical functionalism of Malinowski and Brown. ठीक है? बात वही है. Okay? But I'm not getting into the writings of Malinowski and Brown, unnecessary digression that will be. ठीक? Now please appreciate, Merton himself was what? By orientation, functionalist. So when he's criticizing functionalism, he's not a Marxist or any other orientation. He himself is a functionalist. But he criticizes certain aspects of the classical functionalists, their writings. Because he is trying to kind of reform functionalism from within. He says that these classical functionalists have made certain assumptions, because of which classical functionalism or functionalism as a framework is prone to a lot of criticisms. So if we can get rid of those assumptions, are you with me? Functionalism as a theory or a framework will be better equipped to explain the social reality. क्लासिकल फंक्शनलिज्म कुछ assumptions कर लेता है जो नहीं करनी चाहिए. After all, when we assume something, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Right? So we should not assume. So he was trying to rid functional framework of certain inherent assumptions so that functionalism is strengthened as a framework or as an explanation of society. ठीक? सिंपल भाषा में लिखना है तो लिखो, ही क्रिटिसाइजेस क्लासिकल फंक्शनलिज्म ऑफ मैलिनोस्की एंड ब्राउन फॉर मेकिंग 3 assumptions as follows. On what grounds he criticizes? First is any obvious criticisms of functional theory. What the functionalism you have understood, Durkheim Parsons wala. What are the most obvious shortcomings, criticisms of classical functionalism, what you have studied? Yeah? Ignores agency of individual. First and foremost, सबसे बड़ी कमी क्या लगती है? Sorry? Theoretical explanations. Durkheim was also quite empirically oriented. Mainstream ideas. Downplays exploitation, sees everything as awesome. Yes or no? Universalization. All right. So Merton suggests that classical functionalism makes 3 assumptions which weaken it as a framework. So the 3 criticisms or 3 assumptions that he attacks are: the first is the postulate of universal functionalism. Postulate of universal functionalism. Postulate means assumption. Okay? Only a fancier word for assumption. What is this assumption of universal functionalism? What we have already just touched upon, that all social phenomena are functional or have positive consequences for the whole of society. Right? लिख लो. पहले एक्सप्लेन करने दिया करो, थोड़ा मौका दो, फिर लिख लिया करो, है ना? पहले एक्सप्लेन करने दो. So basically, Merton says that classical functionalism assumes that everything that you see around you in the society has a positive consequence, is beneficial for the whole of the society. It is obviously wrong for example, if poverty exists in society, is it functional or is it detrimental? Functional or detrimental? Poverty. Caste system. फायदे की चीज है, नुकसान की चीज है? Both. It is functional for some members of the society. Poverty, say, is functional for the rich. The middle class, they benefit from it. As middle class persons, we get cheap domestic helps because poverty exists. Yes or no? Industrialists get cheap labor for their factories because poverty exists. And their profits rise. So poverty is functional, but for the poor, poverty is what Merton says, dysfunctional. Meaning having negative consequences. Are you with me? So it is functional for some and dysfunctional for others. In other words, it has positive consequences for some sections of the society and negative consequences for other sections of the society. Clear? So instead of assuming that everything has positive consequences or benefits for the whole of the society, whatever exists may be functional for some, dysfunctional for others, and non-functional for still others. Non-functional means having no impact, neither positive nor negative. Are you with me? So you should not generalize that everything is beneficial for everybody. Caste system is for the upper castes functional, for the lower castes dysfunctional. Right? So लिख लो. Postulate of universal functionalism dash. Classical functionalism assumes that all social phenomena are functional ब्रैकेट में लिखो have positive consequences bracket close for the whole society. Full stop. Merton argues that any social phenomena may be functional dysfunctional or non-functional for different social groups. ठीक है? If you want, you can write the meanings in bracket. Functional meaning positive consequences, dysfunctional meaning having negative consequences, non-functional having no consequences or no impact. ठीक है? Write a quick example. Poverty, for example, is functional for the middle class and dysfunctional for the poor. ठीक है? The second assumption of classical functionalists which he attacks is the postulate of functional unity. These two sound similar, but they are different. Okay, so don't confuse the two while writing. Postulate of functional unity. What is this assumption? First I'll explain, then you will write. Okay, I'll dictate later. Basically, classical functionalists assume what? That the different social institutions are all interrelated and interdependent. So if one changes, what will happen to the others? It will produce a corresponding change in the other institutions also, because they're all connected. They're all related to each other. Okay? What Merton says, friends, that different institutions may be related, interrelated, or they may not be also. So you can't assume this at the outset. समझ गए? Social institutions may also function somewhat independently from each other. अभी तक हमने यही पढ़ा है ना, interrelated, interdependent, and change in one leads to change in all others. Even in Parsons we talked about it. Right? But Merton says this may not be necessarily so. It is a matter of investigation. They may be connected, they may not be interconnected. ठीक है? लिखो. And I'll explain further, I'll give examples also. Classical functionalism assumes that all the social institutions are interrelated. Full stop. Therefore, a change in one institution will lead to changes in the other institutions also. Now friends, staying with this point only, Merton says that this assumption, okay, that all institutions are interdependent, interrelated, is more likely to be true in one of the societies, but not in the other. Matlab, in traditional or modern society, it is more likely that the different institutions are interrelated and interdependent, therefore a change in one will produce changes in the others, but not in the other. So in which society, I seek your inputs, in which society, in your sense, are social institutions more likely to be interrelated and interdependent so as to mean that a change in one will necessarily produce changes in the others, and in which society they can be possibly functioning autonomously? In modern they are, so the assumption is likely to hold true in modern society. How many of you say no? How many of you think that the assumption that all institutions are interrelated, therefore a change in one will lead to changes in others, is more likely to be true for traditional society? Raise your hands. Quite a few, unexpected. And how many of you think it is more likely to be true in modern society? Raise your hands. And you guys, my dear friends, are wrong. It is more likely to be true in the case of a traditional society, not in case of modern society. And I know where the confusion stems from. In Durkheim we had studied more interdependence in modern society. But please appreciate, we are talking two different contexts. While talking in Durkheim, it was interdependence amongst the members of the society. What Durkheim says in organic solidarity, there is interdependence between the members of the society, more in case of modern society. Here we are talking about the relationship between social institutions. Now, why it is more likely to be true in case of a traditional society? Let me try to explain. In case of a traditional society, let us say, here's a person P, okay, P naught. There's this person P1. Who is he? He is his father, okay, and he's the son. Okay, this is in a traditional society. Now, they have a father-son relationship. Okay. Now, say P1 is a farmer. Okay. When P0 grows up, what is his occupation? He will be a farmer. It's a no-brainer. Farmer ka beta, farmer. Kumhar ka beta, kumhar. Sunar ka beta, sunar. Yes or no? So, where will he learn these skills, the technique of farming from? Whom? From the father. So, who is his teacher? So, this is the father-son or the kin relationship. This is the teaching or the educational relationship. Yes or no? When he grows up, on whose field he will be working on? Father. So, who is his boss at work? So there is an economic dimension to this relationship as well. Are you with me? In whose house does he stay? Father. So he is a kind of a landlord also. Yes or no? Now imagine in the case of modern society. Here is P0. He is P1. He is the father. Modern industrial society. Who is his teacher? Wherever he picks up his skills. P1 or another person? P2. P1 or P2? P2. Teacher is different, father is different. Yes or no? Who is his landlord? Father or P3? P3. Who is his boss? P4. समझ रहे हो? Now point is, friends, if in a traditional society the family relations change or the father-son relation is affected, it also affects various other dimensions. It means the employer-employee relationship or the boss-subordinate-superior relationship, the landlord and whatever relationship, the teacher-taught relationship, all of that is impacted. Yes or no? Why? So social roles in a traditional society are very overlapping. Roles in a traditional society are overlapping. One person performs several overlapping roles vis-a-vis another person. Are you with me? But in modern society, different persons are performing different roles in this guy's life. So if his relationship with his father changes, it may not impact the teacher-student relationship or the boss-employee relationship. Are you with me? Meaning what, friends? As the society modernizes, from traditional moves to becoming modern, we say it undergoes a process of structural, sab likhwa dunga, structural differentiation. As the society modernizes, it undergoes a process of structural differentiation. Meaning what? In traditional society, you have one structure performing multiple functions. But in modern society, you have specialized structures emerging to perform different functions. Are you with me? Another quick example, say the tribal chief in a pre-modern society. He is also the shaman or the medicine man. Are you with me? जो झाड़ फूक करेगा अगर आप में भूत आ गया या something. Yeah? If you're ill or whatever. he is also the priest. So the religious function, the health function, the political function, are you with me, are overlapping. But in modern societies, the priest would be different from the medicine man, who will be different from the political ruler. Yes or no? Clear? So this is what we call structural differentiation. So now you have, here you have overlapping structures, and here you have separate structures. So here it is far more likely in traditional society that if change is in one institution, it will also have a bearing on the others. Clear? That is why I said the assumption is more likely to be true for traditional societies, but not necessarily true in modern societies. It may or may not affect. Say there is a change in the family system. It may or may not have an impact on the political system. Are you with me? It's a matter of investigation. You can't take it as a given. Okay? That is all he says. तो लिखो. क्या लिखा है बेटी? ठीक है. Merton considers that this assumption may hold true in case of traditional society. Full stop. But in modern society, in which there is a high degree of structural differentiation, this assumption may not hold. ठीक है? Full stop. In modern societies, different social institutions may operate with a fair degree of autonomy. With a fair degree of autonomy. ठीक? The third. But before we come to the third, I'll make some brief statements, okay, and which will have a certain logic. You tell me if the logic in those statements is correct or not. The family is a very important social institution. You don't need to write this, just stay with me. The family is a very important social institution. In every society, you need a mechanism for reproduction of children. ठीक? It is the family which performs this vital function. Therefore, the society cannot exist without a family, or therefore the family is indispensable for the society. What do you make of this? Do you agree broadly with this line of reasoning? I repeat, the family is a very important social institution. In every society, you need a mechanism for the reproduction of children. It is the family which performs this vital function, which is reproduction of children. Therefore, the society cannot exist without a family, or the family is indispensable for the society. Do you agree with this line of reasoning? Yes or no? How many of you agree? Raise your hands. Thank you. How many of you do not agree? Why? What's wrong? Are you just a naysayer for the sake of it? Huh? तो क्या? What do you make of it, guys? Those who were in support of the statement, how do you respond to what he's suggesting? He's making a seemingly valid argument. Are you in favor of the statement that was made? So he's saying your argument is wrong because
the family makes a certain framework for the family to be created. For example, for a child to be born, there has to be some division of labor. Somewhere the physical help for the child is needed, financial help is needed. And in a practical sense, there is examples in society while we are talking which are collapsing where the family is collapsing. Like for example, Japan.
he's saying if the family system collapses, the society collapses. And it's happening in some parts of the world. Do you agree or disagree with it broadly? You disagree, It is imperative, not just important. You can't do without it. Both of them are suggesting there can be other ways of reproducing children other than or outside of the family. It could be through science and technology, or it could be through, what were you suggesting? How else could we have children? Non-marital sexual union between consenting adults. But then you come to the broader question, what is family? Is that mother-child unit a family? Of the sex worker and her children, can that also be regarded as a single parent family? Beti? You agree with the argument which was made? So you're talking about the other functions of the family, like primary socialization of the child, which you say is, for which the family is essential. हम जानवरों की तरह तो नहीं पल सकते, हमें एक परिवार का माहौल, उसका वातावरण वो चाहिए ही चाहिए. So friends, this argument, the line of argument which I made, is objectionable. It is objectionable. Please appreciate, as these guys rightly pointed out, the social institution which is performing a certain vital function should not be assumed to be indispensable. Any social institution should not be assumed to be indispensable because it is performing a very important function. The performance of the function is important, not the institution performing it. Theoretically, possibly, potentially, there can be other mechanisms of performing the same function. Are you with me? Let me draw a parallel. In a lot of organizations, companies, lot of employees have this misconception that they are indispensable for the organization. Why? Because they are doing some very, very important task. I had that misconception more than 10 years back. I was working somewhere, teaching somewhere, in this UPSC aspirants only. And I was doing a good job, okay, a fairly good job, and I thought, bhaiya, without me, this organization will collapse. After all, it is me on my slender shoulders. I'm carrying all the burden, doing the all-important task of teaching students. Okay? This very complex subject in a simple manner. Then at a certain point of time, I left that organization. What do you think happened to that organization? Not only it exists, it has gone from strength to strength. Okay? I was performing an important function, but then my place was taken by another competent faculty. Are you with me? So वो काम होना जरूरी था, कौन कर रहा है वो जरूरी नहीं होता है. Forget me or any ordinary employee. Say the head of the organization, Dhirubhai Ambani in Reliance Industries, performing a very vital function, laying down the roadmap, charting a vision for the future of the organization and so many things. Performing important functions or not. But was he indispensable? No, he died, and the task he was performing was then performed by another person, Mukesh Ambani. And the organization only grew from strength to strength. So वो काम होना important है, कौन कर रहा है वो important नहीं है. Are you with me? Likewise in the society, reproduction of children one way may well argue is essential. Society cannot do without it. So it needs some mechanism for the reproduction of children. Family is doing that function as on date, but that doesn't mean it is only the family which can perform that function. Are you with me? This is the third postulate. The postulate of indispensability that Merton attacks. Postulate of indispensability. I'll dictate, but meaning what? That certain social institutions are assumed to be indispensable for the society because they are performing some very important function. Merton says what? That there can be possibly functional alternatives or alternative arrangements which can perform the same function, meet the same requirement of the society. So reproduction of children in this case is, and classical functionalists do that again and again. They consider several of the main institutions as indispensable. Family, they say, you need a family. Otherwise the society will collapse, as some students were also suggesting. But when you limit your mental horizons, then you stop searching for alternatives. Are you with me? Like one of the students suggested, you can have free sexual union between consenting adults for the reproduction of children. But then what about socialization of the young children? Possibly children can be raised by the community or the state. Are you with me? Why must we have a parivar, a man, woman, child unit? For the raising of children or for reproduction. Or you could have possibly commercial arrangements for raising children. Like even today you have nannies. Yes or no? You pay people and they'll raise your child for you. Or raise a child for you. Likewise, religion has been assumed by many a classical functionalist to be indispensable. Religion performs this very vital function of social solidarity. You need a degree of cohesion and solidarity in the society. Without it, it will fall apart. You need some shared morality, without which society cannot exist. And religion provides a shared morality. It binds the people together. So religion is indispensable for the society. But can't, say, a political ideology like communism possibly perform the same function? It did for several decades in the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War. In the Russian sphere of influence, Soviet sphere of influence, right? Religion was actively abolished by the state. They closed down churches and whatever, places of worship, converted them into museums and stuff. Are you with me? And communist ideology was supposed to be the binding force, supposed to be the shared morality. Quite another matter, the Eastern Bloc also collapsed. ठीक है? So this is the postulate of indispensability. तो लिखो. Classical functionalists assume that certain social institutions which are performing some very vital functions are indispensable for the society. ठीक? Full stop. Merton argues that some alternative social arrangements may be able to meet the same social needs. Meet the same social needs. ठीक है? So these are his criticisms of classical functionalism. You rid classical functionalism of these assumptions, and functionalism as a theory will be stronger, not weaker. It will be more capable of explaining the social reality. After all, if you look at the social world with open minds, you are bound to see dysfunctions. Yes or no? So ये है, कैसी लगी Merton की बात? Do you like him or not? Broadly. Do you like him more than the classical functionalists in this, or you prefer them? Merton? He sounds so reasonable, no? Moving on, ठीक है, to the next topic, which is manifest and latent functions. manifest and latent functions. Very simple. It is simple. Let's keep it very simple or even simpler. So we have two terms now, manifest functions and latent functions. Let's pick up manifest functions. What do you understand by the word functions? Benefits, positive consequences are functions. What do you understand by the English word manifest? In English, ordinary English, what do you understand by the word manifest? Banana, nahi. That is to make. To assume, sorry, no. Visualize, better, put it better. No, not desire. To create. Hindi mein bolo. To appear. That's very good. Whoever, you said that? You said that, है ना? It is like to appear. हिंदी में बोले तो प्रत्यक्ष होना, साक्षात होना is to manifest. The Lord manifested himself before Arjun, okay, in his Virat Roop. भगवान प्रकट हुए, प्रत्यक्ष हुए, or simply it means to become visible, okay, to be seen. That is the literal meaning of the word manifest in English. ठीक है? What do you mean by the word latent? Hidden. Somewhat, something which is asleep or hidden or below the surface, है ना? That is latent. You know, in childhood I remembered it as जो लेटा हुआ हो. That is latent. ठीक है? कि मतलब वो दिख नहीं रहा है क्योंकि वो लेटा हुआ है, kind of a thing. So, manifest is that which is visible, latent is that which is hidden. Manifest functions therefore are those functions or positive consequences that are visible, that are expected. लिखवा दूंगा, लिखो मत. That are expected. Are you with me? Those are manifest functions. Latent functions are what? Those positive consequences which are hidden. Clear? It's as simple as that. Likho. Manifest functions are those positive consequences that are intended as well as recognized those positive consequences that are intended as well as recognized by who? By the participants. By the participants. ठीक है? Latent functions are those positive consequences that are क्या? Neither intended nor recognized by the participants involved. ठीक है? For example, there is a Hopi Indian tribe. Okay? Hopi Indians are a tribe and they do this rain dance. Okay? And we will give this example because this is the example which Merton himself has given. Okay? The example of the Hopi Indian rain dance. Native American Indian wale. ठीक है, नॉट यहां वाले, हमारे नहीं, विदेश के इंडियन. सो दीज होपी इंडियन ट्राइब, दे डांस फॉर द अकरेंस ऑफ रेन. They dance to please the rain gods so that rain occurs. What is the manifest function of the Hopi Indian rain dance? What is the manifest function of the Hopi Indian rain dance? Dance ya rain ya Hopi? It is to please the rain gods. For the occurrence of rain. Pleasing the rain gods and the subsequent occurrence of rain is the manifest function. हम क्यों नाच रहे हैं as Hopi Indians? ताकि इंद्रदेव खुश हो और वर्षा कर दें. ठीक? That is the manifest function of the Hopi Indian rain dance. What is the latent function of the Hopi Indian rain dance? Latent मतलब hidden. मतलब it is not recognized or intended by the participants. Manifest function is why we are doing what we are doing. What is it? What is the benefit that we मतलब the participants seek to derive out of it? That's the manifest function. But who knows the latent function? Because it is hidden for the participants. Who knows? Huh? Ha! We, the Siane sociologists. Okay? So the trained sociologist, the researcher, he can identify the latent functions. So now, my Siane sociologist, tell me, what is the latent function? Yani the hidden benefit, which is not intended by the participants, but which is accruing. Sorry? Increasing the bond or the social solidarity, collective effervescence, वही सब. Yes or no? उसके लिए नहीं नाच रहे, बट वो भी हो रहा है फायदा. सो इट इज अ लेटेंट फंक्शन. दैट सोशल सॉलिडारिटी इज रीइंफोर्स्ड, स्ट्रेंथेंड. ठीक है, सिंपल. वेरी सिंपल. इसी तरह you have manifest and latent dysfunctions. What are manifest dysfunctions? What are dysfunctions? Negative consequences. So manifest dysfunctions are what? Those negative consequences which are, अब इंटेंड तो हम काहे ही करेंगे नेगेटिव कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस? वाई वुड वी वॉन्ट नेगेटिव कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस विच आर recognized by the participants. Manifest dysfunctions are those negative consequences which are recognized by the participants. ठीक है? Latent dysfunctions are लेटे हुए. Those negative consequences that are not recognized by the participants. यस, कुछ बुरा हो रहा है पर उनको पता नहीं कि बुरा हो रहा है. ठीक. नाउ गिव अ सब हेडिंग. द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ मैनिफेस्ट एंड लेटेंट फंक्शंस. Significance of the concept of manifest and latent functions. Are they significant or are they sidey? You don't call scholars' contributions which you're writing about sidey. Never. Right? So these are important contributions of Merton to functional sociology. These concepts are an important contribution of Merton to functional sociology. as follows. First, these concepts, लिख लो साथ साथ समझाता जाऊंगा. These concepts enable a deeper understanding of social life than the common man's commonsensical understanding of social phenomena. ठीक है. कॉमन सेंस मैन कैसे दिखता है? अपने कॉमन सेंस परसेप्शन के बेसिस पे, प्रायर एक्सपीरियंस के बेसिस पे. तो हिज अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ एनी सोशल फिनोमिना इज नैरो. सो लिखते जाओ. सो दीज कॉन्सेप्ट्स greatly expand our knowledge about the working of the society. Yes or no? कॉमन मैन के हिसाब से वो क्या देखेगा? सिर्फ मैनिफेस्ट फंक्शंस. लेटेंट फंक्शंस कौन देख सकता है? सिर्फ सियाना सोशियोलॉजिस्ट. ठीक. सेकेंडली, these concepts enable sociologists या researchers to move, I repeat, these concepts enable researchers to move beyond their own ethnocentric biases. Their own ethnocentric biases. Particularly when studying other societies and cultures. ठीक है. सोशल फिनोमिना, अगला लिख लो. या पहले ही एक्सप्लेन कर लेते हैं. क्या हमने बोला? इट हेल्प्स अस मूव बियॉन्ड आवर एथनोसेंट्रिक बायसेस. यू अंडरस्टैंड द वर्ड एथनोसेंट्रिक बायस? हैव वी डिस्कस्ड इट एनीवेयर? सो एथनोसेंट्रिक बायस मीन्स इट्स अ ह्यूमन टेंडेंसी टू रिगार्ड वन्स ओन way of life, one's own culture as superior to that of others, or as the only correct way of living. And a lot of us, all of us almost have it. We have this ethnocentric bias. हमें अपना जिस तरह से हम जीते हैं ना, वो सही तरीका लगता है, एंड औरों का गलत लगता है जो हमसे डिफर करते हैं, या इंफीरियर लगता है. Are you able to get it? For example, you tell me guys, which kind of a diet is superior, vegetarian या non-vegetarian? And there we are speaking from our respective ethnocentric biases. जो हम खाते हैं हमें वो superior लगता है. Vegetarians को लगता है भैया vegetarian diet is superior, and they will list out 10 arguments from environmental to health and bodily and everything in favor of vegetarianism, and likewise non-vegetarians will list out 100 arguments in favor of a non-vegetarian lifestyle. Yes or no? And that goes for so many other things. Which religion is the best? My. That is the simple answer. Yes or no? अगर मैं हिंदू हूं तो हिंदुइज्म बेस्ट है, मुसलमान हूं तो इस्लाम बेस्ट है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. That is what we call an ethnocentric bias. Now, researchers are also human beings. Oftentimes in anthropological studies, what we have is researchers are Western. यूरोप होते हैं, यूरोपियंस होते हैं, अमेरिकन होते हैं, और ये जाते हैं फिर दूर दराज अफ्रीका के जंगलों में या एशियन, अफ्रीकन, लैटिन अमेरिकन ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज को स्टडी करने. और पीपल लाइक द होपी इंडियंस. आर यू विद मी? नाउ if you've not studied or known this concept of manifest and latent functions, right? If you're an ordinary Westerner, even a scientist, how will you see the Hopi Indian rain dance? You'll say it's bullshit, yeah. These guys are inferior. Clearly in intelligence and level of development, they think that dancing will give them rain. है ना? इनको इतनी दहले भर की अकल नहीं है. इनको ये नहीं पता कि नाचने से वर्षा नहीं होती. God, somebody go and tell them cloud seeding. Are you with me? If at all you want rain. But now, you have been trained with the Mertonian concepts of manifest and latent functions. Now will you look at this Hopi Indian rain dance with equal contempt? कि ना बारिश नहीं हो रही तो फालतू है. क्यों फालतू नहीं है? It may be performing several latent functions. Yes or no? That is how these concepts help researchers to move beyond their own ethnocentric biases. लिखते जाइए. Third, social phenomena which may otherwise appear irrational start making sense. Social phenomena which may otherwise appear irrational start making sense or more sense when one begins to identify their latent functions. ठीक है? Fourth, new areas of inquiry may emerge. New areas of inquiry may emerge. Full stop. Instead of dismissing some social phenomena, as a social artifact, I'll explain the meaning of whatever I'm saying. The researcher may now investigate whether these phenomena perform some important latent functions. Okay, or important manifest and latent functions, whatever, important functions of all kinds. Simply, what we are saying, friends, what are social artifacts in the sense? Some things they are seen as simply a hangover from the past. or vestiges of the past. That in the past this thing must have been useful, but now it's being done simply because it's been around for a long time. Are you with me? Those we refer to as artifacts. It's like an appendix. Like the appendix in the human body, at some point in time it used to perform certain functions. But now it's there just because it's there. Yeah, not contributing in any which way, but just it's been around. Are you with me? Now, oftentimes researchers may have a tendency to look at things as artifacts, as just hanging around because, they are an inheritance from the past which is meaningless today. For example, these Hindus, I tell you, they do weird stuff like cow worship, cow protection. Yes or no? गऊ को माता बोलते हैं. Ha. So odd. Nahi? I mean, how can you have an animal as your mother? Nothing could be weirder. Now at an earlier point of time, it possibly made sense. In an agrarian economy, doodh and all that. Yeah? So cow was a source of wealth. But today, it's simply a hangover from the past. Yes or no? Yes. Sara Morton तुमने पानी में बहा दिया. When you say yes. Or does cow worship, this reverence for the cow, attachment to the cow, protection of the cow, amongst the Hindus, serve any manifest and latent functions today? क्या ये गौ पूजन और गौ को माता मानना हिंदू समाज के लिए किसी तरह लाभदायक है आज के समय में? 1000 या 2000 साल पहले की बात नहीं कर रहे हम. कैसे? बोलो हिंदुओं. हाँ. ऐसे I should not be asking the Hindus to speak, I should be asking the sociologists to speak. हाँ. 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 Okay, so cows serve as, or cattle serves as an insurance in drought hit regions of Maharashtra. So it keeps the Hindu identity alive. Huh? It keeps people connected to the faith. Beti? जैसे आज तक कहते हैं हमारी बहू एकदम गौ समान है जब शुरू में आती है ना, फिर बैल हो जाती है बाद में. हाँ, मतलब cow type nature meaning docile and peace loving and yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So it's eco-friendly. Yeah, a lot of ecological arguments against beef eating. Yeah, it's very ecologically devastating, the whole raising of cattle for beef, etc. It's one of the biggest contributions to one of nitrogen or something. Huh? Methane production. Yeah. Absolutely. So it was not only 1400 years back. Today, India is the biggest producer of milk, right? And also one of the biggest consumers. Absolutely. So there is a clear economic dimension even today. Or rural livelihoods. So many things, na? ठीक है? So you are less likely now to dismiss it as an artifact or as a hangover from the past. Why? Because now you have understood the Mertonian concepts of manifest and latent functions. Next. these concepts, कौन से manifest latent functions वाले, have the potential to alter our notions of morality. Alter our notions of morality. For example, friends, let us say, one of the most considered as one of the most immoral arrangements is widely condemned as immoral prostitution. And rightly so. It appears sinful from a religious point of view. It appears exploitative from the modern, rights-based, feminist perspective. Yes or no? There is commodification of women's bodies. There's sex and intercourse is being made into a commercial transaction. Are you with me? It leads to human trafficking and a host of other, it is poverty which compels women into this, and so on and so forth. So rightly so, it is widely condemned as a highly immoral arrangement. Yet, does it serve any manifest and latent functions, friends, if we think on these lines? Why, after all, it is said that prostitution is the oldest profession in the world? It has existed in all societies, all through the ages. It must be meeting some societal needs, must be in some ways beneficial for the society. Yes or no? That it exists. So you tell me, what are the various manifest and latent functions, fayde, of this very immoral and condemned institution of prostitution? Fayde ginaiye, brother. So one controversial but popular argument is it leads to a decrease in rapes. So sexually frustrated men will opt for commercial sex instead of forcing themselves on unwilling women, thereby bringing down the rate of rapes. Controversial, not fully accepted as such, but yes, it is a line of thought. Beti? Absolutely. So it is, after all, a source of livelihood for scores of women. Yes or no? They are able to support their families, give education to their children. उनका घर चल रहा है, रोजी रोटी है वो उनकी. Give 3 square meals a day to their families. और बताइए, brother?
I don't remember the report, but it was said in many dysfunctional families are still together because of the institution of prostitution.
How?
People instead of fighting and bickering, they just, when there's separation in families in many societies, Japan, one example is, instead of separating, where separation is a stigma, they get their needs from commercial means instead of separating. So, it's
ठीक है. नहीं, but there is that thing, and let me rephrase slightly his argument, and it's an interesting argument, which is that prostitution counterintuitively stabilizes the institution of marriage. See, otherwise, if a man is dissatisfied in a marriage, imagine hypothetically if there were no prostitution, what will he do? He'll have an extramarital affair, which entails typically a far greater investment of time, emotional involvement. Are you with me? Possibly money also. But on the other hand, prostitution is what? It's a simple clear-cut commercial transaction. Sex in lieu of money. Yes or no? So a dissatisfied man, dissatisfied with his wife, he can go out, engage in prostitution, come back home and be a good husband. Right? So that would kind of bring down chances of the family falling apart. क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? An extramarital affair, on the other hand, is more likely to get caught. ठीक है? Thereby threatening the stability of the family. Yes or no? और फायदे बताओ. अनेकों फायदे हैं. Brother?
Economic independence might lead to social independence of the women, which is very feminine, which can manifest the feminist functions as well. For example,
So it can help achieve the feminist dream of women, being freed from the clutches of patriarchy. Yes, so it is what do you call? A symbol of bodily autonomy. Ma body, ma rules. ठीक है? In fact, this argument has been made by reputed sociologists, Indian sociologists, not just in the West. You have a scholar by the name of Nivedita Menon. She has suggested that, she says we unnecessarily attach a lot of stigma to the profession of prostitution. I meaning Nivedita, okay, she is a professor. So she says, I am also engaged in selling. I am selling the output of my brain. Are you with me? Now is that is the nature of the world. This is a capitalist society. We sell what we have. But do we look down upon professors? No. We rather put them on a pedestal or celebrate their contribution to the society. So why should the contribution of a prostitute who is selling her body be, morally deemed reprehensible or condemnation worthy? मैं अपना दिमाग बेच रही हूं, वो अपना शरीर बेच रही है. बहुत ज्यादा फर्क क्या है? ठीक है? So she makes a very strong argument for legalizing prostitution and, destigmatizing prostitution as a profession. Can you guess she is a professor from where? Wonderful. JNU she is from. Yes. और बताइए कोई फायदे? Brother? Population control. Okay, just explain that a bit. That people will have protected sex with prostitutes, okay, and at home they might have unprotected sex, resulting in a higher fertility rate. Is that the argument? Okay. Specious argument, but ठीक है. Betty? Wow, what a very thoughtful, should I say, kind of an argument from the perspective of men. So it helps men live out their patriarchal fantasies of dominating women. Huh? I saw this very wonderful documentary on one of the channels, जो भी आते हैं ना documentary के 2-4 channels, Nat Geo वगैरह पे, long time back, where they showed a father. Okay, it was a European this thing. A father, he used to take his son from one European country to the other to have sex with prostitutes. It's very bizarre sounding. The context was his son was disabled. Okay, and as a father he recognized that he does also have sexual needs which need to be fulfilled. Okay, and in the other country prostitution was legal. So he would take his son all the way there, and so point is, friends, it can help to satisfy the sexual needs of persons who can otherwise not derive that very basic elementary bodily satisfaction which all human beings need. Are you with me? It can boost the national economy. Countries like Thailand, yes or no, sex tourism is integral to their economy, very important part of their economy. सो एक नहीं अनेकों फायदे हैं किस चीज के? प्रोस्टिट्यूशन के. When we look at it this way, we can, if you don't celebrate it as a morally right thing to do, but still the contempt we express for prostitution might be somewhat tempered now. Now that we appreciate that it does meet several needs of the society, or it helps the society in several ways. Yes or no? So our earlier understanding of prostitution bad and sex and marriage good may stand somewhat transformed. ठीक? तो लिखते रहो. क्या लिखा है लास्ट बेटी? Our notions of morality. Full stop. What may be, in the same breath, next sentence, what may be regarded as highly immoral and therefore undesirable for the society may be found to be performing several latent functions. May be found to be performing several latent functions. Full stop. Clear? Now, two more things pertaining to this I want to discuss and then close. One is, Merton says that these out of manifest functions and latent functions, okay, one are subjective and the other is objective. Which is subjective and which is objective? You tell me. Sorry? Manifest functions are subjective. Manifest, please write down, manifest functions are subjective dispositions of the participants. Manifest functions are subjective dispositions of the participants. Latent functions are the objective consequences identified by who? The trained researcher. Identified by the trained researcher. ठीक है? Why is manifest functions subjective? Because it's up to me, na? What are the benefits that I seek? Me meaning the social actor, the guy undertaking a task. So what are the manifest functions of teaching? For me, they are those benefits which I think I derive from it. For another teacher, maybe something else. For one student, something. For another, something else. Okay? But the latent functions, those are not subject to variation in the sense, they are the objective, detached analysis of the situation by the trained researcher. ठीक है? Another term I want to introduce you to, which is, he says, unintended consequences. You have today been introduced to four terms: manifest functions and latent functions, manifest dysfunctions and latent dysfunctions. You tell me, out of these four, which are the unintended consequences? The latent functions and the latent dysfunctions are unintended consequences because they are not intended by the participants. Are you with me? So unintended consequences as a broader term, which includes latent functions as well as latent. The word latent itself denotes unintended. Okay? Latent dysfunction. So if you get a question on that, you can differentiate between the two and then pepper the answer with some examples. ठीक? So, चलिए. With that we close for the day. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.